Omancheka Nerimbikbik, Bonwurang Namda Baraptan Atawilam. Come with purpose to my beautiful home, land of the two bays. My name is Gary Yarraman Steele, and I'm a proud descendant of the Bunwurrung people of the Kulin Nations. While I'm very proud to be able to welcome you here today, it is also a strict responsibility of the Kulin people. A welcome to country is not simply the words that we say, but the intent that goes behind it. It's the thoughts and the reason and the purpose to why you are here today. This dates back to our creation story. You see, according to my ancestors, the land where we meet was created by Bunjil. Bunjil is our creator spirit. And he created these lands and these waters. He carved them out of the mist with his great spear. And when he was done creating the lands, he reached deep into the soil and pulled out the clay. And from that clay, he carved. He carved arms and legs and a head. He gave it hair, eyes, nose, and a mouth. He then breathed life into that clay, and in doing so created the first Kulin people, my ancestors. When he breathed that life into the clay, he also breathed into them a deep sense of responsibility for a land in which they came from. You see, this turns the idea of ownership of land on its head. For the Bunwurrung people in the Kulin Nation, it wasn't about owning a piece of land, but rather being owned by that land. And that's something that you can't sell, something you can't give away. Knowing that you'll always be connected to that piece of land instills in you a great responsibility to protect it. In order for my people to protect this land, and in accordance with the Wirangi Bik, or laws of the land, we had to ask all guests to make 3 promises. The first one, inherently, is, what is your purpose? Come with purpose, or Womanjeka. The 2 other promises, the first one being not to harm the land or the children of Bunjil, and secondly, to honour and respect the laws of Bunjil, our Wirangi Bik. Now, it is now 2021. It's really hard to define what those laws might be, and how do they fit into our modern way of life. We can look at these laws from 3 different perspectives. The first one being the perspective of knowledge, or what we might call Yelenge. How do we practice knowledge? How do we value knowledge? Often we think of knowledge as something that grants us capacity. It makes us better, it makes us more knowledgeable. And while that may be true, how often do we think about knowledge as being a responsibility? You have a responsibility for the stories that you have, for the stories that you've learned, the stories that have been passed on to you. You're responsible for that knowledge, and responsible for the continuity of that knowledge, passing it down to future generations, ensuring that knowledge can survive. Then there's also the perspective of community. For the Bunwurrung, we call this Janabi. It also means to celebrate, but it's the coming together of diverse community, people from different parts of community with different ideologies and thoughts, bring them together for a common purpose, identifying what we have in common. You see, while it's important to identify and value diversity, it's also important to identify the common purposes that we have. And that's how we can harness the power of diversity. It is only through this that we can create a sense of belonging, where everybody has a voice in the community. Finally, the perspective of country. How we value country relates to the stories and the people who have come to pass on the land that we stand. Understanding that we come from country and that we're connected to it through story. I often think about this as the stories about the language on country and those languages that still survive today. I often ask people, do you know any Wurrung or local language? A lot of people will say no, but the truth is you do. We speak language all the time when we talk about places. If you're going to the upper suburbs of Turak. You're actually going to Turuk, or a reedy, swampy area. If you're going to the airport, you're going to Tullamarin, the name of the man who burnt down a prison to escape. And when we want to escape Melbourne one day, we'll go back to Tullamarin and he'll show us the way. Fortunately, we don't need to burn anything down. Finally, you might be going to a resting place, Mulubin, or as we say in Australia, Moorabbin. You see, all these names refer to a special characteristic of that place or a person from that place. And these are important things to remember. Finally, it's most important when we talk about country that we're looking not only at the last 200 years of history that we have here that has been celebrated constantly, but also the last 60,000 years that preceded that. You see, as people who live in Australia, we really should be able to celebrate 60,000 years of history, human history that has occurred on the countries where we live, where we work, and where we play. So if we can adhere to these laws or somehow utilise them in our journey on country, I can say once again in the words of my ancestors, Womanjika, Mirimbik, Bunurang Namda, Baraptan Atawilam. Ngujin, thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Asher Hirsch, and I'm a Senior Policy Officer with the Refugee Council of Australia. The Refugee Council is the peak body for refugees and the organisations that support them. And we are the coordinators of Refugee Week, which is coming up on the 20th of June to the 26th of June. And we're very excited for you to join us today at this event to launch Refugee Week in partnership with the Wheeler Centre. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land which we meet, the Wurundjeri and Boon Wurrung people of the Kulin Nation, and pay our respects to their elders past and present, as well as for all the people joining us and the traditional owners of the land that you're joining us from, and any Indigenous people who are also participating online with us. We pay our respects to their elders as well. I'd also like to thank Gerhan Yaraman Steele for his welcome to country, and also like to introduce Councillor Dr. Olivia Ball, who is from the City of Melbourne, and will be also introducing our event. So I'll start with Councillor Olivia Ball. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Councillor Olivia Ball, and it's my pleasure to join you today on behalf of the City of Melbourne. May I begin by acknowledging that hundreds of sovereign First Nations have lived as custodians of this continent since time immemorial. Sophisticated, dynamic cultures whose knowledge and unique relationships to this country have seen them survive ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and colonisation. We pay our respects to the elders of the Kulin Nation and acknowledge their sovereignty was never ceded. I hope you will join with me in committing ourselves to truth, justice, and treaty. Today, I'm pleased to acknowledge our Refugee Week representatives and today's speakers and musicians, and welcome to you all. The brief biographies of some of today's speakers and musicians tell a tale that sounds simple but speaks volumes. Shahad says resettling in Australia gave her a second chance. Gordon is attempting to reunite his family to settle safely in Australia. Safety, unity, family, a second chance. Isn't this what we all hope for and deserve? Refugee Week shines a light on what we can decide to do as a city and nation to welcome and unite with refugees, given the reality of persecution and conflict in our world. I began my career as a psychologist, and my first job out of uni was with the Red Cross, working with people seeking asylum and living here in our community in Melbourne. After that, I worked for the Foundation for Survivors of Torture and its equivalent in London. Working for justice and human rights is my lifelong occupation. It's my aim to continue this advocacy in public life as a councillor at the City of Melbourne. On behalf of the City of Melbourne, may I congratulate the Refugee Council of Australia and the Wheeler Centre for holding an event which can inspire even more Australians to get involved in welcoming refugees. The City of Melbourne, we conduct an annual survey of thousands of people in our municipality and found last year that 93.3% of people in our municipality think that a diverse, multicultural city is a good thing. That is a remarkable statistic. It's hard to get 93% of people to agree on anything. But we know Melburnians are proud of our diverse city, a city shaped by refugees and migrants from more than 200 cultural backgrounds. To build that sense of inclusion and to build unity, we are proud to support Refugee Week and to work with a number of agencies, including the Refugee Council of Australia. We aim to support newly arrived refugees through English conversation classes, sport and recreation, training and education, business, creative programs, and other opportunities that build social connection and inclusion. To highlight this spirit of welcome, on Sunday, World Refugee Day, Melbourne Town Hall will be lit up in purple. The City of Melbourne is a member of the Mayoral Task Force supporting people seeking asylum, and we are a refugee welcome zone. This means we commit to welcoming refugees, defending their human rights, and celebrating cultural and religious diversity. We have and will continue to advocate to the federal government for the rights and well-being of the men detained here in our municipality. That is what a refugee zone can and should achieve. Today, I so look forward to hearing from our speakers and sharing their experiences and to a very special musical performance. Thank you, and be sure to get involved in other activities planned for Refugee Week.
Thank you, Councillor Ball. Today for Refugee Week, we're going to be telling an exciting story about how a group of diverse people in the city of Geelong, not too far from here, came together for a rather unique experience. It starts in 2017 when a retired software sales executive had the ambitious idea to build 10 Scottish rowing boats from 19th century design and bring the community together with him on this project. Peter Doyle's initial goal was to showcase the cultures, experience, and qualifications of this group of people of Geelong, and to have a central point for cultural festivals and other events celebrating Australia's refugee and migrant communities. But when a group of Syriac refugees from the landlocked city of Iraq, 35 kilometres from Mosul, took on the task, the result was a lot more than they expected. And together, they did a lot more than just build some beautiful boats. It built bridges between communities and achieved a goal of bringing the community together in a social cohesion project. This makes an exciting case study for our Refugee Week launch event, especially because this year's Refugee Week theme is unity, and we're showcasing how refugee communities across Australia and around the world join us in the spirit of unity with other Australian communities as well. Today we'll examine the project and how it achieved some amazing success in bringing the community together, and a range of different communities: Syriac communities from Iraq, Persian communities, and local Australian communities as well. We have some of the founders of this project with us here today, Mukhles Habash and Peter Doyle, and a member of the community, Shahad Banan. Later on, we're also going to be hearing a musical number from Gordon Koang and Paul Beale. So after a brief introduction from our panelists, we're going to hear about how communities came together to build a boat. Mukhles, let's start with you. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your life before coming to Australia in Iraq?
Thank you so much. It's a privilege for me to be part of celebrating Refugee Week in Australia. I'm from the city of Baghdad, as you said, 35 kilometers north of Mosul. I had my normal life there in Iraq, in Baghdad. I was working in my own vet clinic for many years, living with my family, the community. We had a very nice life in Baghdad till 2014, when ISIS occupied our city. At that time, everything had been changed. in that time, I felt there is no way my family safety is in danger, and I have to make very tough decision. So when we left the city of Baghdad, and we headed to the north of Iraq in displaced refuge. That was till 2000, the end of 2015. At that time, Australian government announced very humanitarian decision, was a humanitarian program for settling 12,000 entrants from Iraq, from ethnic minorities from Iraq and Syria, and I was a part of that program. So earlier in 2016, I headed again to Jordan, and by July 2016, I was here in Australia in Geelong.
Thank you. Can you tell us what it was like coming to the city of Geelong when you first arrived in Australia?
Well, to be honest, there is no much tough decision than to be forced to a new life. So for refugee, it's not an option you can make. It's a forced decision you have to obey. When we came to Geelong, it was very hard time, especially the first few weeks. There was a gap between arrivals and settlement services, and they were not prepared for us as individual, but as community. We support each other, because Syrian community in Geelong, most of their members, they are from city of Baghdad, and we know each other. So we try to support each other as much as we can, and there was needs that need to be meted by some project, and it was very blessed moment when I got a call that there is a project of building boats, and I remember we were playing soccer at that time with the men, when I got a call from the university telling me this building boat project. What do you think? You can participate in that? We directly said yes.
What an interesting question for you. Would you like to build some boats?
Yes. we even if we asked to build an airplane, we would say yes.
Thank you. Shahad, you're also from the Syriac community.
Correct.
Can you tell me a little bit about your life in Iraq and coming to Australia as well?
Yeah, that's correct. I came from the same city Mukhlis came. I was raised in Baghdad, got my bachelor degree in fine arts from Mosul University. And then after graduation, I was a primary school teacher for an international baccalaureate school. My last few years in Iraq were not easy at all. The biggest was in 2010, when I survived direct bombing when I was going to university. There was a big bombing, and I wasn't alone with hundreds of students traveling from Baghdad to Mosul just to get education. This was past. I was very glad I was alive after that. The second one is it was when we got, my husband and I, direct threat to our life. So then we need to make the decision. We need to leave Iraq. We fled to Jordan, inland through desert of Iraq. It was most dangerous, tough experience I've did, and I had to wear like another uniform, like Islamic oriented uniform, just to pass the checkpoints, because it was very tough at this time, 2013 I'm talking about. And so we wanted just to make the journey very easy, no drama. We got to Jordan, Amman. We stayed in privately rented studio. We couldn't get help from UNHCR because we were not able to stay or to get to the refugee camps. We stayed in Amman 3 years, almost 3 years. But the happy moment after this long, from 2013 until 2016, the happy moment, same program that Mukhlas mentioned, we were chosen to get settlement in Australia, part of the Australian contribution to take extra 12,000 refugees. This was the happy moment when we got the a phone call. And I remember we were asked at the Australian Embassy when we did the interview, where do you want to be settled in Australia? And we did have a city in our mind to tell. But when the interviewer asked us where you want to be settled, we looked at each other, my husband and I have goosebumps now, and we said, any safe place. So randomly we were placed in Geelong, and luckily it's a beautiful city and great city to live. It's home now, where we work and share social life, and we were where we met Peter through the project of building boats.
Thank you. Peter, I understand you were you're now retired and you were a software engineer and accounts manager. What makes a software engineer want to become a boat builder and do this project?
I was a software salesman.
Right.
I worked for big American software companies managing very big Australian companies. So it was the application of business strategy thinking to community events. And business strategy thinking is all about what's the objective and how are we going to get there. So it's a pretty useful model. And with the boats, it was kind of a bit of a light bulb moment for me, Asha. I was had a lot of experience in Geelong, working as part of the Wooden Boat Festival at the Royal Geelong Yacht Club, and that got me exposed to these things called St Iles skiffs, which are modelled after, as you said, Scottish coastal rowing boats, North Sea coastal rowing boats. They're a kit boat. They come like an IKEA flat pack and you glue them together, so there's nothing terribly complicated. But they're all built by communities around the world. They're about 300 now, and they're built by little communities of people who have a particular interest that glues them together, like a knitting club, if you like, but a boat building club or a cycling club. And they just want to be, let's go build a boat. As Mukhlas said, let's build an aeroplane. Could have been the same thing. So there was that. The motto of the St Iles Skiff Association globally is communities build boats, boats build communities. So I had that in my head. The second thread, I suppose, was it's always struck me that we have, in this country, we have such a wealth of skill, qualification. I can't emphasise the word experience strongly enough. You've heard what these guys have been through, but real life experience in our Calden refugee communities. Yet they're all kind of shoved under the table a bit and they're not on full view. For instance, Mukhlas is a veterinary surgeon. Great skill, but not working as a vet in Australia. One of our other people that was building a boat with us, his mother's a nuclear physicist. So great knowledge, skill, qualifications that we're not really tapping as an economy or tapping as a community. And the third thing was when I'm asked overseas often, what do you think the most defining thing about Australia is? I always say cultural diversity. Because the things that people like the Syriacs and the Italians and the Greeks and the Vietnamese have brought to our Australian culture, we wouldn't be Australian without all those influences, and that continues. It's not something that stopped. It continues with the refugees and the immigrants that we bring into the country. So the light bulb moment was bringing all those things together. Let's build 10 Scottish rowing boats with all the Calden refugee communities in Geelong, multiple culture teams, and then let's put them on the water at the bottom of the city of Geelong and put all these great people and this great fun on show in festivals and events, and even involve the Anglo-Saxon community too and open some eyes. So that's really where it came from.
So, Peter, you had this great idea to make some flat pack boats. How did you get it started?
It was a great idea. Perhaps wacky might be a more appropriate term. Let's build Scottish boats with people from the Iraqi desert. But how do we get it started? We needed money. I needed $20,000 to build 2 boats. I needed somebody, a legal entity, to auspice the grant or loan or whatever we found, wherever we found that money. We needed a place to build them, and we needed people to build them. So the $20,000 came from the Victorian Government Community Harmony program, which was a Tim Pallas program at the time, going back 4 or 5 years now. The where do we build it was Deakin University. They let us use one of their big loading docks at their waterfront campus, and that was great. That gave us the space to build 2. The Royal Geelong Yacht Club stepped up and auspiced the grant, so we had a legal entity that was standing for us. And the only real thing we were missing were the kits, so we bought 2 kits, and then the only thing that was really missing was the people to build the boat.
So how did you find the people from different refugee communities?
It was a journey. The whole thing was a journey from one impossible to another. So where do I find a mix of multicultural people, refugees to put together? The first that I had was what used to be called the Geelong Council of Ethnic Communities, which was a self-formed body out of immigrants in the 50s and 60s in Geelong, in the Nissan Hut placement centres in Geelong, now known as Diversitat. I thought, there's my target. Diversitat looks after services, provides services to about 50 or 56 CALD immigrant refugee communities in Geelong. They'll know who I should talk to. And then the next, I was wondering, how do I do this? And then later that week, I was on a Friday night. I always have a few beers with a few mates in a little bar at Anglesey. And I was relating the story, and they said, well, where are you up to? And I said, I'm trying to find refugee or CALD communities to do this, but Diversitat's probably my best target, but I don't quite know how to sort of tap in there. And I had a tap on my shoulder, and this bloke behind me said, I heard you mentioning Diversitat. My name's Michael Martinez. I'm the CEO. How can I help? So, Michael then was very engaged and very helpful for us. He introduced me to Mucles and the Syriac community. We ran a briefing at Diversitat for them. That was so much fun. Most of them didn't speak English at that stage, so my friend Mucles is doing a lot of translation. And so we briefed them on this boat and what it all meant, and they went into a bit of a huddle and came back and said, nobody's made such a ridiculous offer to us before. When do we start? So then Michael also introduced me to Abbas Haddad, who was the leader of the Geelong Persian community at the time. So we have a very Christian Catholic community in the Syriacs. The Persians were Muslim, all teaming together to build a boat, with the 3rd and 4th components, maybe some people from Geelong Lifeboat, who is an organisation that supports priest-abused, mainly women. So we had some people from that too. And as I always like to say, then we had some refugees from the Royal Geelong Yacht Club. So that really made up the team.
So, Mucles, you coming from a landlocked area in Iraq, never built a boat before, never really been on a boat before. All of a sudden, some person comes up and says, do you want to build a boat? What were you thinking at that time?
Yes, as Peter was saying, yes, it was not only about boats, it was about building communities. So when I got that phone call, there was discussion before about what the community need are. So we were like somebody is in a hole. We want to see Geelong. We want to know Geelong. We want to engage with locals. We want to learn English, and the best way is to engage and involve with any program that is directly keep us in touch with locals. And as I said before, even any project, we would say yes, because we were trying to be part from the city, active. Yes, we were refugees. We came here to seek shelter, safety, and safety. Yeah, but after safety, we have to give back to the community. So I'd like to mention something about the welcome that we had in Geelong. Geelong is very great place. We were very welcomed. The people are amazing. For example, after my brother, after he arrived after a week, his neighbor helped him to buy a car and like purchase an insurance in Geelong. My brother-in-law, after a few weeks of his arrival, one of the Holy Family in Bell Park parishioners helped him to train him to get like drive test. So even for me, I get welcome from everyone, from the people in Geelong. That was amazing, but that was not enough. We were looking to be very active and real resident of that city. Geelong is a coastal area, and water, even for us, we didn't been we were in a very locked area. We didn't be part of water activity. So now we are part of Geelong. We want to learn how people of Geelong, so how they living, how the lifestyle, the culture, all that we get through the boat building project. And I will leave it to Peter to give you more about what kind of fun and we had through the project also.
Peter, do you want to explain some of
Look,
the
it was fun. And I think one thing it always strikes me is McCless got it, that getting a bunch of your people around a project, whether it's a boat or an aeroplane, focusing on something that turns out to be beautiful, and you go, wow, we did that together, is a very gluing experience. And because we had such a mix of people on that team, most of the yacht club guys were Aussies. And we taught them how to sandpaper, Australian business hours, and how to swear in Australian. That was very important. We got that one through.
Yes,
Yeah.
we learned a lot.
But so we just had a lot of fun together. At one stage, we had a list on the wall of boating terms that had the Australian word, the Iraqi term, and the Persian term. So, and we'd have barbecues together every Saturday afternoon. We'd had various cultural events we were all invited to. So it was just great fun. And we're all great friends from that.
Yeah.
So you formed some lasting friendships from that.
Yeah. We try to keep out of each other's way, but...
Yeah.
Shahad, can you also tell us a little bit about your experience in the project? And I understand you named the boat as well and wrote some of that script on it.
Correct. Yeah. So yeah, I did write so after the guys decided, or all of us decided what we need to name the boat. So after discussion, we came with and the guys came with the name Bride of Baghdad, which is Kalthed Baghdad. I'm saying it in Aramaic. So yeah, so I did write in Aramaic, or it's Syriac. It's Syriac, not Aramaic. It's Syriac. I wrote the script, and my husband painted it in or draw it, because not everyone knows Syriac. So I was very happy. Okay, I know how to write it. So I got it. They put it there. It's amazing, and now it's on the water, called the Bride of Baghdad.
Part of Geelong.
Yeah, correct. It was so much fun, and yes, the guys, they were working on the boat, building it, but the women as well, they were there, wearing traditional costume, doing a traditional dance with the guys, and it was beautiful. And from that point, Geelong start to know, oh, we have a new community. It's a Syriac community. So from that project, we start to get invitations to participate in the local events. Like if I name it, like Paco Festa, it's one of the biggest multicultural festivals. Also Gala Parade, Humans in Geelong, and I can name it. Yeah, so it was amazing opportunity for the community to know the Geelong and Geelong know Syriac community as well. So.
And I must say, everything you're invited by any corner of the town to participate in, you always said yes and did it.
And we still do the
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Correct.
There's a bit of a message in that, isn't there?
Yeah, it's amazing. So how did this come together at the end? You've finished these boats and you had the festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's been an interesting end because built by Iraqis and Iranians, people who don't get up in the morning and say, "Oh, let's go get in the boat." They did it because of the building of something beautiful, not the using of it. So they've moved on now, and they're being used by the Geelong community, by out of the yacht club, but certainly not by members. We're using it to draw people from all cultures and corners into a yacht club where they would never have thought of going because we don't sail. But here's something that they come into, they're having fun, they're bringing their kids, bringing their families. So that's what we're doing with them now.
So what are the kind of lessons for others in different communities around Australia? Obviously, it's not only about building boats, but really, what do you think these kind of experiences can teach us about how we can ensure and bring unity to our communities?
My bit, I think the real message is projects that make a difference in people's lives don't have to be massive multi-million-dollar projects. They can be little things like building an aeroplane, like building a boat. Anything that pulls people together and has a beautiful, successful, unifying outcome. Doesn't need to cost a lot of money. These boats cost $10,000 each to build. It's not a lot, so little things make a big difference to people's lives, I think.
I want to add to what Peter was saying about small things make change. So these projects had a very positive impact on the guys that were part of the project. 3 of them, they got jobs while we were working with the projects. The confident and English improved. We after that we were able to navigate the city as Peter have said. Now we have a very strong relationship, friendship. They attend the parties that we are doing. We are attending the events that held by Royal Yacht Club. So it was amazing outcomes we get this project, and I'm very proud of the 8 to 10 members of my community who did the job. I was coordinating that with Peter and the Royal Yacht Club. So thank you, guys. I'd like to name each one of you because you were legends. You make a big change to your families and the Syriac community.
Shahad, how do you think these kind of small projects can really make a big difference?
Yeah, they really make the difference, and especially for new arrivals. My message will be like, if you get the chance or opportunity to or invitation to participate in a program or event or a lesson or anything, just go. Like, don't be held back. Go participate. You will meet people. You will get to know your place. It doesn't matter, even if you're. It doesn't matter to be a refugee or asylum seeker or even if someone move from a city to another. By participating in such programs, it helps people to know each other. And yeah.
Thank you. Some really great advice and really great messages from all of you, and yeah, an amazing, unique, and quite a interesting story about how building boats can build communities. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ash.
So I'd like to thank you for joining us with us today for our Refugee Week launch. We're going to finish off with a couple of songs from Gordon Koang and Paul Beale, who'll be performing some songs from their latest album, also titled Unity, which is the same theme for Refugee Week this week. I invite you to participate in other Refugee Week events around the country, and also think about how you can be involved in events that create unity in your community. So Gordon Koang will start off with a song entitled Stand Up, Clap Your Hands from their album Unity. Thank you.
All right. Today, my audience is really great time to me, and also I'm very happy to sing the song before you. So now I am going to give you the song called Stand Up. And stand up and clap your hand. This song I composed it, I write it because I want to make you happy. Somebody with his partner, and then I want them to be happy to dance well and to be very enjoyable on the time when I'm singing. So now this is a song that I'm ready to give it to you now this time. My real name is Gordon. I can't go a lot because my music is the one who will talk to you. I love you all. My audience, I miss you for a long time. I will see you when the time comes, and we will come together face to face. Listen to the song. Stand up and clap your hand. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Don't keep quiet. Move your body. Come up here, here. On a stage with your partner, you can dance now, now. Show us your style. Give us your attention. Listen what we are gonna say. We love you, audience. Music here is a very serious. Don't you stay behind. Come forward, yeah. We are pleased now to warm you. Stand up and clap your hands. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hands. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hands. Don't keep quiet. Stand up and clap your hand. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Don't keep quiet. Move your body. Come up here. On a stage with your partner, you can dance now, now. Show us your style. Give us your attention. Listen what we are gonna say. We love you, audience. Music here is a very serious. Don't you stay behind. Come forward, yeah. We are glad now to warm you. Stand up and clap your hands. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Stand up. Stand up and clap your hand. Don't keep quiet. Move your body. Come up here. On a stage with your partner, you can dance now. Show us your style. Give us your attention. come forward, yeah. We are pleased now to warm you. This song is talking to you like it wants you to come up to dance. So now we are going to do another song. That song is called Coronavirus, because we are in a very bad situation in the world. So I curse out the coronavirus with the songs. So I talk to it. I tell it that don't come to us again because I don't like you. And also all people in the world, they don't like that coronavirus. It's really typical. It has stopped the work from everyone. So now we are going to listen on it. Are you ready? Coronavirus, you are a bad disease. We understand it. You're trying to finish the God's children. You are dangerous. Go away. We don't want you in the world. You are a typical coronavirus. The world got tired of you. Coronavirus, you are a bad disease. We understand it. You're trying to finish the God's children. You are dangerous. Go away. We don't want you in the world. You are a typical coronavirus. The world's got tired of you. We're suffering. Almighty God, bring your wisdom to the doctors. They must defeat it. Don't let it go out of control for the next generation. Do not come again, we curse you COVID-19, because you kill more than the other diseases. You destroy the world. Your pandemic froze the world economy. Heartbreak, it is too much. You reduce the world population. You lock down the businesses. Coronavirus, darkness, go away. We don't like to see you. Do not come again. We curse you, COVID-19, because you kill more. Do not come again, we curse you, COVID-19, because you kill more than the other diseases. You destroy the world. Your pandemic froze the world economy. Heartbreak, it is too much. You reduce the world population. You lock down the businesses. Coronavirus, darkness, go away. We don't like to see you. We're suffering. Almighty God, bring your wisdom to the doctors. They must defeat it. Don't let it go out of control for the next generation. You locked down the world for a long time. Many people lost their lives, and we lost our jobs because of you. You're a very dirty killer, COVID-19. You came in a simple until you infected the whole world. No matter where they are, you killed them, COVID-19. You, coronavirus, you become the world disaster. Locked down the world for a long time. Many people lost their lives, and we lost our jobs because of you. You're a very dirty machine. You came in simple until you infected the whole world. No matter where they are, you kill them. You locked down the world for a long time. Many people lost their lives, and we lost our jobs because of you. You're a very dirty killer, COVID-19. You came in a simple until you infected the whole world. No matter where they are, you killed them, COVID-19. You, coronavirus, you become the world disaster. We're suffering, Almighty God, bring your wisdom to the doctors. They must defeat it. Don't let it go out of control for the next generation. So this song is talking to us to advise us to control ourselves, also to taking care of ourselves, so to watch our hand when we are in one place together. So now we are going to another song. So this song is for asylum seekers who are waiting for their visas, because when you apply to the government is doing more things to working because of you, want you to have a time big patient, because they're doing more things together. So now you will listen to the song. It will talk to you, and then I love all of you, my audience. So now let us go to listen to the song. I miss you all. My dear asylum seekers, we know you're waiting for your permanent protection visa. We know you've been waiting for a long time. My dear asylum seekers, we know you're waiting for your permanent protection visa. We know you've been waiting for a long time. My dear asylum seekers, we know you're waiting for your permanent protection visa. We know you've been waiting for a long time. Sometimes it has been hard. Our advice is this: it won't be long before you have it. You need to be patient. Sometimes it has been hard. Our advice is this: it won't be long before you have it. You need to be patient. Sometimes it has been hard. Our advice is this: it won't be long before you have it. You need to be patient. My dear asylum seekers, we know you're waiting for your permanent protection visa. We know you've been waiting for a long time. Sometimes it has been hard. Our advice is this: it won't be long before you have it. You need to be patient.
Visit wheelercentre.com for the best in books, writing and ideas from Melbourne, Australia and around the world.